Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you an apocalypse horror film, Hell. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film opens in the near future. A young woman named Marie, her younger sister, and her lover, Philip, are traveling by car. Temperatures have risen dramatically around the world, bringing civilization to its knees. Going outside during the day has become dangerous, not only for vampires, but also for humans, because the heat of the sun is unbearable. Crops have been destroyed, water and food are scarce, and the social order has been disrupted. The few survivors who have adapted to this horrible climate must protect their skin with extra clothing, gloves, gowns, and anything else they can get their hands on. The only thing that protects the trio from the sun is a car wrapped in wire mesh with newspapers on the windows. Although most of the planet has become inhabitable, the mountains are still green and lush, with water and food for everyone, so the trio is heading to that very place. Their routine is to rummage through wrecked cars and gas stations in search of gasoline, water, or even food. They must always remain alert for hostile survivors, because in these situations, humans can do horrible things in order to survive. One day, the group stops at a destroyed gas station and splits up to search for resources. While the girls search the building for supplies, Philip tries to collect fuel from the station's tanks and abandoned vehicles. After searching for a while, the two sisters manage to drain some water from the bathroom pipes. In addition, the girls realize that someone has stopped there to go to sleep. In fact, shortly afterward, they spot a stranger stealing food and drinks from their car. Marie screams and calls Philip, who is still trying to collect gasoline. Later, they chase the stranger and discover that he has stolen supplies from the car. Philip becomes enraged, saying that he has to look after everything all the time. Marie then realizes that her sister has disappeared. She screams her sister's name, but receives no response. She then enters the station, terrified, looking for her sister. When she turns around, she discovers that the stranger has captured her sister. He orders Marie to lay down her weapon and call Philip. Marie agrees, and then Philip suddenly appears behind the stranger, hitting the glass of the door with a hammer. The two fight for a while, and when the stranger tries to hold the hammer, he cuts himself with the glass attached to it. Then Philip is pushed against the wall, and the stranger bites his arm. Philip drops the hammer and is then pushed to the ground by the stranger. The two then continue fighting on the ground, and in the end, the stranger runs outside. Philip follows him and knocks him to the ground, but the stranger reveals that he has fuel, and the two reach some sort of truce. The stranger reveals that he is a mechanic and tells Philip that traveling long distances with their car is impossible because its engine is not designed for intense heat. However, he knows how to make it last longer. Then the two make a kind of exchange. The mechanic gives him fuel in exchange for a can of food and water. Later, as they are about to leave, the mechanic starts talking about the worn drive belt and suggests changing it by stealing it from another car. Philip makes him an offer. He will take him with them in exchange for fuel, and if he will repair the drive belt. The mechanic accepts without a second thought, but the girls are hesitant. However, Philip convinces them by saying that they will need an extra pair of hands. The group continues the journey, and they travel along the barren roads, gradually approaching the mountains. However, they are abruptly stopped by a massive metal structure obstructing the road. The men get out and try to move it, but are unsuccessful. Fortunately, they manage to move the structure off the road with the help of their car. Soon after, they discover a wrecked automobile down the hill. The men believe it has crashed and go down to look for supplies. After further investigation, they discover that the car belonged to a French couple. They also discover food, water, and gas. Philip orders Marie to bring down several bottles and canisters through walkie-talkie. However, she insists that he come alone and take whatever he wants, because she doesn't want to leave her sister alone. Sister doesn't like Philip and suggests to Marie that they drive away together in the car. Marie is doubtful, but when Philip keeps calling her, she goes to him. Philip gives her a French perfume that he found inside the car. In the process, Sister sees some strangers approaching the car. The group suddenly hears her screams and hurries up the slope. In the process, Marie trips and falls, hitting a tree and losing consciousness. Sometime later, Marie wakes up and sees no one around her. Soon after, the mechanic surprises her from behind and takes her to Philip. The mechanic explains that when he and Philip arrived at the car, her sister had already been kidnapped by a group of cannibals. Later, they reach Philip in the woods, and Marie says they must save her sister. On the other hand, Philip doesn't want to endanger their lives and wishes to continue the journey to the mountains. As the two argue, the mechanic climbs an electric tower and notices smoke in the distance. The trio chases the smoke to investigate and find a survivor camp where the sister and other hostages are chained. The group is shocked by what they see, but the mechanic devises a solution. The mechanic's plan is to use a Molotov cocktail to create a diversion. While Marie attempts to return their stolen car, the mechanic and Philip will go to rescue her sister. Marie immediately agrees and heads to their car parked on the side of the road. When one of the kidnappers goes to the car to get something from the trunk, he notices someone inside, and just then, the mechanic throws the Molotov cocktail. The fire distracts everyone's attention, and Marie takes advantage of the situation by starting the car and waiting for the two men to arrive. Philip, however, refuses to help the mechanic save Marie's sister and gets into the car. He encourages Marie to drive away. Marie doesn't understand what's happening, but when she sees the bad guys coming, she starts the car and drives away quickly. In the process, one of the kidnappers manages to cling to the car door, and Philip tries to push him away. However, when the door closes, he severely fractures his foot. When Marie asks what happened, Philip lies, claiming that it's impossible to free her sister from the chains. Philip tries to convince Marie to abandon her sister, but she is adamant about saving her. When they reach a safe place, Marie realizes that he has not even tried to save her sister, so she chooses to return alone in search of her sister while he tries to start the car. She eventually arrives at a tunnel where she finds her sister's luggage, signifying that she is on the right track. Soon after, the limping Philip arrives and apologizes for being a coward. Marie tells him that if he wants to follow her, he must help her save her sister, and he agrees. However, after a while, it becomes clear that he cannot continue walking because of his injured leg, so he is forced to stay in the tunnel. Later, Marie sets out under the scorching sun in search of her sister and the mechanic. Because of the oppressive heat, Marie seeks refuge in an abandoned church. She falls asleep on the floor, and a few hours later, a middle-aged woman finds her and wakes her up. Marie becomes frightened, but the woman calms her down and offers her water. The two start talking, and Marie reveals that her sister and a friend have been kidnapped by a group of cannibals. The woman says she has never heard of this group, but offers to help. However, first she insists that Marie visit her farm and rest. Marie is persuaded and decides to accompany her. In addition, Marie also reveals the location of Philip, and the woman says she will send her son to help him. Later, they arrive at the woman's barn, and she tells them that the heat has ruined all her livestock. Food is scarce, and the family survives on a nearby pond, where she has tamed some fish. The woman appears very friendly and shows her around the house. She then leads Marie to a room where she can sleep, rest, and regain her strength. Tired, Marie quickly falls asleep. But when she wakes up, she finds herself confined to the room. Peeking through a small hole, she notices a young boy and his friend engaged in a fight with wooden swords. Then she spots what appears to be a group of kidnapped prisoners being led into a basement. Marie also notices the injured Philip being carried into the barn. At this point, she realizes that the woman turns out to be shady. The woman and her family are the real kidnappers who have been setting up roadblocks and ambushing tourists, then eating them. Suddenly, the shady woman bursts through the locked door. She reveals that Philip will be used as cannon fodder because they have no other option to cure him. On the other hand, she states that Marie and her sister will be spared because of their youth and beauty. In fact, they will be forced to marry the shady woman's cannibal sons. Marie is helpless. She doesn't know what to do with this situation and asks only to see her sister. Soon after, the shady woman walks through the door with the sister, and the two siblings finally reconcile. The shady woman then places a blue dress on the table and asks Marie to wear it for dinner. Before closing the door, the shady woman threatens that if they try to escape, they will be promptly executed and fed to her family members. After the shady woman leaves, Marie looks around the room, searching for an escape route. The two sisters then begin to form a rope with their clothes to jump out the window and escape. Unfortunately, Marie hears someone coming, and she tells her sister to pretend to be asleep. The shady woman's long-haired son enters to flex his long hair and says he has come to treat her sister's wounds. Marie tries to cover the window through which they tried to escape, and when he approaches to check on it, she suddenly kisses him without using her tongue. Then Marie tricks him into closing the door. But when he turns around, she hits him in the shoulder with a heavy piece of wood. The long-haired son throws away the piece of wood and indignantly starts choking Marie. Then, the sister slams a large ceramic pot into his head just in time, knocking him unconscious. Afterward, the two sisters rush to escape through the window. Marie encourages her sister to jump out the window first and hide in the woods. After her sister comes out, Marie hears someone at the door. She decides to stand aside and buy time to allow her sister to run away. Then she changes and puts on the blue dress the shady woman left for her. Soon after, Marie comes down the stairs and meets the woman, pleasantly surprising her with the new dress. Marie seems to adapt to her new surroundings, and the woman invites her to join the family dinner. When she asks about her son, Marie says he is still nursing her sister's wounds. Then the two women go to the kitchen, where the entire cannibal family sits down to eat. Before preparing to devour human flesh, they recite a prayer. After she sits at the table, Marie throws away her plate and tries to escape, but the long-haired son, who has regained consciousness, stops her at the door. In the next scene, Marie is chained and taken to the slaughterhouse. She notices Philip, who is also bound across the room. The long-haired son arrives shortly after and kills Philip, ready to turn his corpse into food. He then throws away Philip's clothes in the room where Marie is. She slices the knife from his clothing and manages to free herself. She then escapes and enters the barn through a closed door, where she discovers several hostages, including the mechanic. Without further ado, they all flee outside, but are blinded by the sunlight they have not seen in weeks. The kidnappers try to catch the fugitives as they escape. Later, as they run toward the woods, an old man running near the mechanic is caught by the kidnappers. The mechanic stops to help him, and then kills a kidnapper with a shovel. Soon after, a runner near Marie is hit in the back and falls on her, knocking her to the ground. When another kidnapper is about to hit Marie, the mechanic saves her by hitting the kidnapper in the back and jumping on top of him. As the two men wrestle their muscles, Marie climbs on top of the kidnapper and pulls him by the hair. The mechanic then bites his smelly part, throws him to the ground, and starts smashing his face with his fists. Subsequently, Marie runs into the woods in search of her sister. She eventually finds her sister, but is held back by the shady woman and one of her shady sons. The woman approaches Marie, claiming that she thought she was unique. Now, the shady woman intends to take Marie's sister with them, so that she can marry one of her sons and start a family. Marie keeps her cool, and when the shady woman approaches, she seizes the opportunity and stabs her in the stomach. As the son cries in a chicken voice for his dying mother, Marie frees her sister, and they escape. Later, the two sisters join the mechanic and flee to the mountains, where they find fresh water. They also notice birds in the sky, and the film ends with the three of them staring at the landscape, hoping for a better fate. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.